The traveller sat upon his horse. A forested range of mountains surrounded. The wind blew in heaving currents between long evergreen branches. The horse was quiet. They had ridden hard to reach this saddle, this intersection of paths, this clearing beside the ruin of an ancient tree. She knew the path he took. Cloud covered the sky, left visible through canopy. "I am here," the rider called into that anonymous space. But the wind, the shivering breath of what once had been, swept by, and the horse waited, gently gusting breath, and watched the path beyond. The man looked about at the rising stems, at the leaves they bore, at the spaces between. He looked to the towering stump of a giant that once had lived. But there was no sound of bird, no shuffle of leaf, no waking of what once he had known. The traveller called out again, "Tell them I came. I said I would come. I kept my word." But no voice arose from the wood. The old man stood by and watched the traveller. The traveller turned to the old man and spoke. The great house was empty. No one was there to see. No one even saw. The old man spoke. "The path you walk was always going to be alone, but for your horse. But even your horse will stand over you as you continue alone." "No, only its form, like mine, shall remain. She and I joined and shall continue together." The old man responded, "I understand." The traveller spoke. "That is your way. It is for that reason the warrior is given to the fire with his horse and hunting dog, spear and hunting bow, with his knife and sword. These are the emblems of his spirit, which themselves reflect his spirit with their own. They too manifest will, the will he adopted, the will he made his own. Thereby they remain with him, the foundation of later life, the accessing of that will at birth. The warrior names the horse for her spirit, for that part of her he loves. It is that he encourages, that the rest may more easily fall away. Thus she is called Battle Goddess. He strengthens her capability so that she may know her capacity. There may be no distraction. She trains to know his will and to meet it. Thereby her spirit comes ablaze. Thereby her mind is quiet and focused. Thereby her body is flexible, fast, and strong. She is not raised to argue and intervene. She is not raised to petulance, and by that the hunter may hear her and trust her. He may find serenity in her body and what it tells him of their way. By that they are married, and neither need fear. They live together, through day and night they hunt and dream. The will of one is the will of the other. Thus they ride and they die together. Yours was not but one tribe, but one tree of many. Each of your tribes was different, and yet all the same in spirit. Did not in one tribe all the men ride mares? And did not the women of that tribe, warriors too, ride the stallion? Was it not that the men, tall and strong, required swiftness of hoof to take them silently to their task, where dismounted they might raid? Again the traveller lifted his gaze and met the Valkyrie's steady silver-blue eyes as he spoke. And was it not that the women of that tribe rode stallion, that she might take the form of his height and battle untouched from there? And did not those stallions fight for their charges with hooves high to kick and crush her enemy? And did not those stallions love their charges, tiny before them, and protect them from threat? And could not those stallions sense every statement of her feather-light will? Did they not look where she looked, and feel the shift of her fingers, and surge with just a hint of her knee? That is how she spurred. There was no need for metal to push upon hide, and from that great height her arrows flew with the silent glide of feather with or against the wind. And did her hair billow and tangle in the wind, or was it drawn and braided for battle, for climbing trees, for running through woods? Were her eyes tired? No, they were piercing and watchful, sharp with focused intelligence, alight like water in the sun and blue as sky. Did she lack grace in movement, like some craving, scrabbling animal? No, she stood tall because she could run. And when she bathed, with her hair unbound in the cold of mountain pool, and the water washed the salt from her glistening skin, could not her muscle be seen, and the frame of her skeleton, the structure of her bone, tested since birth? And did she not demonstrate grace in the perfection of her movement, in the articulation of her will through muscles keenly charged? Did not her giant watch from river bank as she, impervious to cold, speared her prey? And the stallion would watch her naked form return to him, and she would reach up to his face to touch his cheek with tiny hand, with lightest fingers. And although he stood twice her height, was not her strength such that she could leap upon him and grip his great body to the gallop, such that he would know that he was hers? And was it not the case that her tribe went robed and hooded in the world beyond their wood? For were not its women too beautiful for earthbound eyes to see? Was not the secret of their beauty that they drank from your cup? Was not the secret of their beauty that they were strong? Was not the secret of their beauty that they knew the horse, that they sat by fire, that they could fight? And what of the men of that tribe? Were they satisfied with the mare? Did it not grate to ride the smaller horse? No, it did not grate, and they were satisfied, for the mares were strong too, and born of your consort, and the men could themselves run for days. It was their choice, it was their custom that the men should ride the mare. By that the men never lacked speed, and the mares knew the male well, and would follow. For was it not the custom to walk and run with horse beside, just as it was to test and gallop bestride? Did not man require himself not to be reliant upon the ride? Did he not move with the dogs as sentries and horse amidst? Did not the animals understand the man as their master? The man became master of horse and dog as a child. That was their way. That is your way, the way of your tribe, that man should become master of dog and horse as a child. Only then may the language of dog and horse be understood. Only then may dog and horse truly trust. Only then may they be his senses and his limbs. And is it not the case that in that tribe the men were stronger than the stallion? It was the case, as that was their custom, as what man but a warrior could please a woman whose partner in life is a stallion of the hunt? Embodiment is the result of action in pursuit of form. She grows into the role, she embodies the role, she must meet the role. And so her body is fit to ride the stallion, and her mind is attuned to the mind of the stallion, and her spirit reflects the spirit of the stallion. By that she is supple and strong, stern and deserving. She commands herself, and so the stallion may trust her, and so the herd may trust her, and so the tribe may trust her. That is the woman of the tribe, of your tribe. She rides the hunt with the men. She complements her mount so that she may complement her men. Thus, as regards attention to task and clarity in pursuit of the tribe's way, man and women are no different. Each has body, mind, and spirit, each to be exercised to the hunt will from birth. The hunt will is to be shrouded outside and naked inside. Your tribe recognizes by the experience of ages the passage of the different, the moon and the sun, night and day. In the time of the moon, do not the women together rest and bathe? And do not the men encircle in small groups at distance the moon hall? Do not the men in those groups burn fires in the forest? Do they not drink the blood mead from the cup? Do they not test themselves beneath the sun? And are not all in that time naked? The time of the moon is a time of retreat, not retreat in cowardice, but retreat into the internal, retreat into nakedness, retreat into the will of the blood. It is when the women commune and the blood hall becomes their shroud. What is the shroud? The shroud is the silence. The shroud is the quiet footfall of the hunt step. The shroud is a choice made in communication. The shroud is the protection of the tribe will. The shroud is the hooded robe. The shroud is the keeping of confidence. The shroud is the application of silence. The shroud is the expression of the solemn. The shroud is the white soul of the wood. Thus your tribe wears a dark shroud in the world beyond their forest, and but the veil in the wood, and but bare skin to bathe in the spring. Thus they are naked in their hall, and shrouded abroad. That is the way of your tribe. And why do they allow the shroud abroad? Is it because abroad they practice deceit? It was never thus until your brother grasped his play and man turned on himself. The traveller stopped and considered in silence. The old man spoke. "Why do you pause?" The traveller spoke. "I'm thinking of shrouds. I'm thinking of the wood that must be removed when sculpting. Man lost his form and learned to shroud, but out of shame. So your tribe, by adopting that shroud, made themselves smaller and quieter. By that shroud they would go unseen. Thereby, naked together, they cooperated for their strength, and thereby, shrouded and apart, they competed against the shamed. In that way your tribe wears a shroud because it must. Your tribe wears a shroud because it is small and dispersed in your brother's world. Thus your tribe lives no longer in a world without threat. The very forest that surrounds their well has been infringed upon until but a hidden valley remains, and the hunters live abroad in the world of man, alone, in small groups or in pairs. And from those invisible stands, shrouded they hunt, shrouded they seek the form within tangled strands. But even when viewing with keenest eye, the form is dark, and so the hunter goes hungry. No longer is the prey lit with vivid life. And so the hunter must consider from where he may fetch his food, and he must hide, lest he himself might be trapped and consumed for no more than his flesh. And so quietly he speaks with those that might hear, unveils his eyes to those he might trust. With them he speaks and then dies. How many are left that return to breed with their kind, to keep the tribe blood pure? How many have found their way to the blue? How many, touched by you at birth, their virgin mothers enticed by storm? Does not the sand spread over the earth? Do not nations now become the tribe? And do they not govern as they subsume and then die? Thus nations may hold a strand of your will against the many others that forgot, and thereby will become your brother's desert.